Hello. Good morning, everyone. Is just waiting for one other person to log in, and then I'm going to begin here in a moment or so. Hope everyone is doing well. Okay, we have a lot of material to cover in the hour, so I'd like to begin. This is the Intermediate AutoTag Training webinar. Today is March 21st, 2018. My name is Eric Johnson, and I will be your Windward training facilitator today. I'm a technical support engineer here at Windward. I've been here for a few months now. Maybe you've interacted with me through help desk tickets already. Okay, you may have noticed that when you logged into the GoToMeeting webinar, you have a toolbar. The arrow that you see on the screen right here, this is put into the raise your hand icon. So if any time during the webinar you have a question or experience in technical difficulties, please feel free to click that button to ask your question or notify me of anything that's wrong. The only thing is that these prompts that I have for questions in chat are on my other screen, so I may not see a question immediately. Usually I wait until the Q&A session to answer at the end of the webinar to answer any questions. Again, this is the Intermediate AutoTag Training webinar. We're assuming that you've built some templates. They could have been very simple templates. We're assuming that you've installed AutoTag, that you know how to use tags, that you know how to connect to your data source, that you know enough about AutoTag to get you started. And you may have joined us last week for the basic AutoTag training webinar. For the machine I'm working on today, I'm using Windows 10 operating system, which is 64-bit. I'm also using Office 2016, also 64-bit. And the version of AutoTag that I'm using is 15.2.224.0. You can check the downloads page. That is where we update that a new release has come out. But right now I'm using 15.2.224.0. Okay, I want to give you a high-level overview of what we'll be discussing today. I'll go over some advanced features for the ForEach tag. We'll discuss conditional formatting, covering two types of conditional formatting. One, showing and hiding content using AutoTag tags, and a second type that formats output based on a condition. We'll go over the equation editor, for example, how to use the sum function. We'll discuss the if and switch tags and what the differences are. I'll show you an example of the import tag, and of course, the Q&A session is at the very end. All right, so the ForEach tag, let's review what it actually does. It does three things. First, it grabs a set of data, any set of data that you want to pull from your data source. Second, it loops through that set of data that you selected to work with. And third, it repeats all the elements between the tags. I'll show you the importance of where to place the beginning and ending for each tags. And I'll show you the results of placing these tags in different ways. And we'll also get into grouping data or nesting for each tag. And I'll show you how to group your data with nested for each tags. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and open up a blank Word document. Maximize this. All right, so when you install AutoTag, within the AutoTag and AutoTag Manager tabs, you have the sample button. I'm going to go ahead and select this to open the Getting Started guide. Here, within the Getting Started guide, we're going to look at the sample templates, and then under this, we're going to focus on the additional section, and we're going to be discussing the tag tutorials SQL. We also have tutorials for XML, as this is the second greatest use. JSON being the third. We don't quite have those tutorials yet, but we are working on them. I want to select this tag tutorials SQL. And for the first example that we're going to discuss today, I'm going to open up the ForEach Tag sample. So it's this fourth one here on the right. All right, so we're going to focus on this first sample here, the ForEach Tag without the table. This one right here. So yes, it is possible to use the ForEach Tag without a table. And here it is right here. We get the ForEach Tag, a couple out tags, and an end ForEach Tag. And below this is a ForEach example that you may be familiar with, where the ForEach Tag is within a table. Here we have the ForEach Tag, the outputs all within the table, and then the end ForEach down here. All right, so what I want to point out here on this example is two things. One, where you place the beginning and ending ForEach tags, and two, why the placement is important when you loop through the data. So before we do anything, I want to go ahead and select this ForEach tag and preview the data. I want to see what we're working with. So this ForEach tag is returning category ID, category name, description, and picture. This is the information from the category table. Okay, what is this out tag that's next to this ForEach tag returning? I'm going to select the out tag, click preview, and this out tag is just going to be returning a list of category IDs. Now, what's the second out tag doing? I'm going to go ahead and select it. Again, preview to see what data we're working with. And here we're going to be displaying the category names, beverages, for an example. And then right below the L tag, we have our end ForEach tag right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click the output to show you what it looks like. Okay, I'm going to split the screen. Scroll down a little bit. All right. All right, so you'll notice here in the output, what we're displaying is a 1, which is the category ID, a dash, and then the category name. And then next, we're going to be doing the same, category ID, a dash, and then the category name. You may notice, though, here that all these categories are ending up on a different line. How is this actually happening? Why is it inserting the next record on a separate line as opposed to right after the first one? Well, over here in the template, so we added this end ForEach on the very next line after the out tag. So there's nothing after this out tag, all this white space. And then after the white space, then again, we're adding this ForEach tag on the next line. So I'm going to go up here to the Home tab, click on the Show High Formatting, so you can see what's really happening more closely. So right after this last alt tag is this paragraph marker. So we're providing a carriage turn after these alt tags right before the end for each, which is below it. So what happens right now if we go ahead and take away this carriage return? So I'm going to go remove it, which then will place the end for each tag right after this final alt tag. So what will this output look like? Let's go ahead and generate another one so you can see what it'll look like. That's output. Yes to save. Split the screen again. All right. Now, as you can see, the output looks very different from what we saw a few moments ago. So immediately after the first record, after this beverages, it starts the second record right here, is number 2. There isn't even a space between the records. Then when it gets to the right margin, it goes on to the next line and carries on. This is, as you can see here, so it goes to the 7, and now it moves on to the next slide. And it'll continue this across the page as well as down the page. So let's go ahead and change this back. I'm going to go Control Z. So this is why it's important where you place the end for each tags. Everything between these for each and end for each tags are being repeated each time it iterates through the for each loop. So everything, even this carriage return, which was resulting in a new line for each record being displayed. All right, that's all I wanted to kind of show you with this example is the importance of the ForEach tag and where you place it. Before we move on away from this template, I'd like to show you the tag tree button. AutoTag, so within the AutoTag ribbon, over here in the data section, you have your tag tree button. I'm going to go ahead and click that. So this is very helpful, especially when you're reviewing templates that you haven't seen before. So it lets you know all the templates that are in the table. So I'm going to go ahead and expand on this main story. We could have had tags within the headers and footers. We don't in this example, and if we did, it would display those tags within a footer and a header section. Since there are none, we are only displaying the tags that are in the main story. But again, if you had tags in the headers, you would see header. And if you had tags in the footer, you would see footer, and you'd be able to expand them to see that. So the cool thing also about this is that you can double click any one of these tags and it'll go directly to where that tag is in the template. So in this next example, we're going to focus on this customer loop right here. So I'm going to go ahead and double click this. And as you see over here on the left in the template, it brought me all the way down to that customer loop, which is right here at the bottom of the page. So this can be very helpful when you're trying to locate a specific tag. Okay, I'm going to go back here to the tag tree. I'm going to expand the customer loop for each tag. And let's go ahead and discuss the makeup of this a little bit. So here, this customer loop, this is our outer for each loop. Then we have an out tag and another ForEach loop. This one is the inner ForEach loop, which is going to be connected to this outer ForEach loop. This is where we'll talk about grouping. And then after this inner ForEach loop, we have an out tag. We have an end ForEach tag, which refers to this inner ForEach loop. And then we have another end ForEach tag, which relates to this outer ForEach customer loop. Now, all right. One second, please. I'm just trying to show you the tag tree properties. For some reason, that's not opening up well for me. Let's see if I can get this. All right. I was just working earlier when I was preparing for this webinar. Let me try to open up one more just to see. Sorry about this. We'll get back on track in a quick second. I just was hoping to be able to show you that snippet, that section at the bottom. AutoTag, let's open up the tree, the tag tree. Go ahead and go back to the customer loop. Well, sorry on this example. I'm not sure what is happening. Like I said, it was working for me a few minutes ago. But so with these options, with the options within this tag tree, if you click on this, it should display down here in the tag tree properties window, in this properties window, attributes and a snippet of the query. You can change the attributes through this query. Not exactly sure why it is not working. Just one more second to see if I can get this. All right, sorry about that. Well, let's move on. We will show you what this snippet would have showed you a little later, but for some reason, it is not displaying the properties down here. All right, back to the sample for a moment. So what's going on here? We have an outer ForEach tag, and we want to group some data based on the company name. Let's go ahead and preview this customer loop to see what we're going to be returning. All right, so this outer customer loop is just going to be returning the customer ID and the company name. Next, as I mentioned, after this outer customer ForEach loop, there's this company name out tag. What is it returning? As it indicates there, this out tag is just going to be displaying the company name. Okay, next is another ForEach tag. This one is our inner ForEach tag. I'm going to go ahead and preview this inner ForEach tag to see what it's returning. All right, so it's returning all of the orders that pertain to this specific customer ID. So let's say that you have a list of company names that you want to see all of their orders for as it goes through the list. This is exactly what we're doing here. All the orders from the company as we go through the list. So let's go ahead and take a look at this alt tag to see what we're going to be returning. And we're going to be displaying the order ID. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at how this will look in the output. Output, save the document, yes. I'll split the screen, close the tag tree. Scroll all the way down. All right, to the grouping ForEach tag that we've been talking about. So here we have our loop in the template, this customer loop, and as over here on the right, you can see the results of the loop. Here we have the one and the company name, and then all the orders that pertain to this company name. And then after we display the last order, we'll go ahead and start the one again to indicate a new list and display the next company name. And we'll do this down the page, displaying each order associated with each customer until we run out of customers and orders to display. So this is how we are grouping orders under specific company names. I'm going to go and close this output. So how do we actually tie this inner ForEach loop to this outer customer ForEach loop? So I'm going to go ahead and select this outer ForEach loop. And I want to point out up here in the ForEach tag properties that this outer ForEach tag loop has a variable name of var name 10. And the variable is what AutoTag uses to identify this ForEach loop. So now let's go ahead and select the inner ForEach loop. And I'm going to go up here and click on this wizards button up here in the tag properties section. So this will open up our SQL wizard. Over here in the center, these are the columns, the columns that we're retrieving from this ForEach loop. We're not going to focus on this right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and minimize this for a second. But what we're here to talk about is how do we tie this inner ForEach loop to this outer ForEach loop? Well, we do this through the filter section right here. You can see that it's already set up for you. I'm going to go over here and expand the tables and the orders for a second. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're collecting the customer ID from the orders table. This customer ID from the orders table. And we're checking to see if it's equal to. Again, you could click this equal to and change how the condition is being checked, but we're going to go with equal to the value of var name 10. And remember, var name 10 is just the variable name of this outer ForEach loop. And we're going to have that equal to the customer ID. So that var name 10, we can utilize that and connect to the outer ForEach loop. Now go ahead and click on this drop down right here and expand the var name 10. So this is the ForEach loop with all the variables that we can connect to. Of course, we're using the customer ID on this example. So I'm going to go ahead and select it. All right, over here on the right, you may have noticed the data preview pane. This is the first customer ID and all the orders that pertain to it, all based upon this condition that we set up in the filter. So this is how you can connect your inner ForEach loop to your outer ForEach loop. Okay. I'm going to generate the output again so you can see it. Split the screen. Let's scroll all the way down. All right. I now want to kind of explain to you what is actually happening when we generate the output with the engine. Each AutoTag has a small .NET engine built into it. What's happening is our engine is completely stripping out the data from our template. It collects the data, and then it rebuilds from scratch, from top down, everything that's in your template. So it shows the data that you wanted, and it displays how you wanted it formatted as well. So what's happening here in this example? AutoTag is collecting all the data from the customer loop and all the data from within this inner ForEach loop. It's tying it together, and when it produces the output, it says what's after this customer loop, and the first thing that it comes to is this numbered list and the company name. And then what does it do? It sees the inner ForEach loop, so it grabs that data and it displays the out tag, displays the data in this out tag for this inner ForEach loop. It will do this for all the order IDs for this specific company name. It will loop through showing everything between this inner beginning and inner ending ForEach loop. Then when it gets to the end of the orders, it will go on to the next line where it comes across this ending ForEach tag. This then tells the engine to go back to the beginning of the outer ForEach loop, collect the next record, and then iterate through the loop and repeat this process of displaying the company name, collecting the order IDs associated with this company name, and displaying those order IDs till it reaches the last order, comes down to this end ForEach, and goes on to the next record, and continues that for as many companies that are in the data. So this gives you an idea on how the engine is tearing down the template and rebuilding it from scratch after pulling your data from your data source. So this is how you group data using nested ForEach loops. Go ahead and close this output. Okay, another thing I'd like to go over before leaving this sample, on the page above, is this section right here. So we've been creating ForEach tags using row-based formatting. We're now going to focus on how to create ForEach tags using column-based formatting. The ForEach tag can be used for the column major expansion. So So there are three things that are different when you want to create columns instead of rows. This example up here being what we're used to when we're seeing row-based expansion where it goes down. Here, we'll be using columns. So three things that are different. First thing you may notice is that this ForEach tag, this end ForEach tag, is within the table. This isn't what we would normally typically set up. We would normally set it up with the end ForEach tag outside of the table. But in this example, since we're doing column-based, the end ForEach tag actually goes inside the table. I'm going to just preview this ForEach tag inside the table just to see what we're returning. It looks we're returning category information. Pretty familiar with this by now. We get the category ID, category name, description, and the picture. Okay, what is this alt tag going to be displaying? Let's go ahead and select it and click preview. Okay, this alt tag will just be displaying the category name. So instead of creating a list top down of the category name, we're going to create columns left to right across the page. I'm going to go ahead and output this just so you can see what it looks like now before we go into how it was set up. I'm going to scroll down to the column-based example. All right, here it is. Let's split the screen. So as you can see here, instead of going top down, we're going left to right, expanding the table, creating new columns as needed based upon the records within this ForEach tag. This formatting, we could have adjusted this table here to make this display a little better, and that's definitely possible. What we're showing you right here is the columns that are being created as this ForEach tag loop is being processed. Also, you may have noticed that there is no blank line here at the end of the table. Typically, you would see a blank line if you put the end ForEach tag in the table, but here, this is not the case. Let me show you why that is. I'll close this output. So there's a couple of ways to edit a tag. You can either double click on the tag, or you can go up here in the tag section and click on this edit tag button. So I'm going to go ahead and select this end ForEach tag right now and then click this edit tag button. So this opens up our tag editor, and it opens to the query, and you'll notice that we're not using a query, as the end ForEach tag is not really used to query anything. It's just used to tell AutoTag when to stop looping through the data and repeating the elements. Go ahead and click on this Properties tab. And so within this Properties tab, there's this delete row attribute. And this attribute is currently equal to true. So this is why we're not showing the last blank row. We're suppressing this row on output, and we set it to true. Now, if I was to turn this off, I could use the drop down, or I could double click on that field, save it. So now what is our output going to look like? Go ahead and click Output, save yes. Okay, let's split the screen. I'm going to scroll down to the example. And here we are. So here you go. There's now a blank row. Before we didn't have this blank row, but we do now because we turned that property, the delete row property for our end ForEach tag to false. So that's two things so far. One, the end ForEach tag in the table, and two, the delete row attribute set to true. So the last thing that you need to do is to change the property value for the ForEach tag to columns instead of rows. So I'm going to go ahead and double click this ForEach tag to open up the tag editor. So this window, if the tag tree editor, the property section was working, what we see here would be a little more robust than that other small section within the tag tree. Here, we can actually, here's a preview button, and we can actually preview this query. So clicking it, you can see that we're returning the category ID, category name, description, and picture from the categories table. There's a wizard button, just like the button on AutoTag to see the SQL wizard. There's an equation button, which I'll show you a little later, that adds an equation to the tag. And then there's the next and previous button, which takes you to the respective tags without actually exiting the tag editor. Okay, over here on the left, just like the data bin, here's our tables and our views. These are the ones that we have access to. And then over here on the right is our query window. Now your query window is probably white. If you right click within this window, there's this color scheme option. I'm using the base 16 ocean dark in this webinar. What is normal is this plain option. I'm going to go ahead now and click on this properties tag. And within here, you'll have some advanced attributes, some standard attributes, but I want to focus right now on this tag attributes or properties. You'll notice this order attribute, and it's set to column. So if I click on this drop-down list, we have a couple of options for you: legacy, row, and column. Legacy is what is used by default. Legacy isn't much different than row. It's the original way that we built the tag. The row attribute does a little more. If you want to delete a row with the end ForEach, you'll have to use this option. In our wiki page, there's some more information on how legacy is different from row, so you may want to check that out. But since we're expanding not by rows, but by columns, we'll want columns set here for the order. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save this. And let's go ahead and generate the output. So you can see what this looks like. Okay, split the screen. I'm going to scroll down. Right, and now as you can see, we still have that blank row. I'm going to go ahead and change this back. Go ahead and double click this and for each tag to remove that row. Change this back to true. Save it. And now let's go ahead and click the output again. Yes to save. Split the screen. And let's scroll down. And with that delete row attribute set again, you'll notice that blank row has been removed. So 3 things. First, make sure that that your ForEach tag is set to columns. Your end ForEach tag is within the table, and the delete row attribute of this end ForEach tag is set to true. This is how you can get column expansion instead of row-based tables created. Okay. Go back to our slides for a moment. All right. So we talked about legacy, row, and column for each type. We talked about the delete row attribute, and which deletes the row where the end for each tag is placed. Okay, next we'll be discussing the equation editor. So we have over 50 equations or functions available for you to use. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of them. I'm going to open up an example that I already have set up. Opened on my other screen. I'm just going to drag it over. Okay, here we're going to add a sum function to create a total of sales amounts for a list of the salespeople. You can see I have a sales table here. There's the sales for each loop, bunch of out tags for the salesperson, the number of calls, the leads generated, and the sales amount. Now, before we do anything else, let's go ahead and just take a look at this sales loop to see what data we're working with. I'm going to go in and select it, click preview. So here we are retrieving the salesperson, call num, leads generated, and sales amount. Just exactly what we're looking to use in this table right here. All right, and select this salesperson just to see what we're returning here. And yep, salesperson. All right, so before we do anything, let's take a look at this. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, before we add this sum function here to this table, I want to show you how to conditionally format out tags so that we could display possibly on this sales amount red text for those salespeople not meeting their quota. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on this sales amount tag to open the tag editor. Move this over. So I'm going to expand this var1 variable. And this var1 variable is just relating to our sales loop over here. I'm going to go and click the properties. And then here in this tag section, right here, there's a condition field. And there's already a condition set up for you. I'm going to go ahead and click on this ellipsis here at the end of the line. And this will open up our conditional formatting rule manager. So whenever you add an equation or whenever you want to evaluate data, you want to begin with an equal sign. So in this example, we have an equal sign, dollar sign, a bracket, var name 1 representing the sales loop, and we're going to be looking at the sales amount from the sales loop, and we're going to check if it's less than 8,000. And if it is less than 8,000, we're going to do something. We're going to format it in a way. If you know the syntax for the format that you want to use, you can go ahead and enter this in here, or you can use this wizard button, which will help you create the syntax. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And here, you can see that there are different format options for text. We can italicize text, bold the text, underline it, strike through. We can give the text a color. We can even give the text color, the back of the text color. And since we're working with tables, you'll see a cell tab right here, which will allow you to line style, adjust the line style, the line color, and give it a cell color. You can even give it alignment. I'm going to go back to the text tab. So for this example, we're going to change the color of the text to red if the sales amount is less than 8,000. Unfortunately, we don't have a color palette. That's something we want to add as an option. But for now, you'll have to add the hexadecimal code for the color. And here we have FF0000, and that is the hex color for red. So good. We're going to format the text to display red. And here's our formatting right here, for color red. You can also add another rule if you wanted to. You could delete a rule. But right now, we just want to have those sales amounts that are less than 8,000 displayed in red text. So this is all I want to do in this example. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK, save the tag. I'm going to go ahead and output it just so we can see what it looks like. Yes. Split the screen. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the formatting. We don't need this to see this anymore, and it's just kind of busying up the screen. So you can see here that any sales amount that is less than $8,000 is displayed in red. So this is one way to conditionally format an alt tag for output. All right, now let's come back here and add a sum function. So what if we want to total all the sales amounts within this table? How do we do this? Well, we'll need to create a new row in our table underneath this first row. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this N for each and delete it using this delete button up here. Now I'm going to add a new row by clicking on this plus sign. So we're now going to do what I told you not to do earlier when it comes to row-based templates. And this is a row-based template as we're going to be moving up and down. So what we're going to do now is add the N for each tag inside the table. So I'm going to go and place the cursor in the second row in the leftmost column. I'll go up here to the tags button, and I'm going to add an N for each tag. Okay, now I want to add some text here. Let's say total. Let's go ahead and format this text. Let's make it bold and right aligned. Okay. Now we have the total. We need to display it. So I'm going to go up. We need to add an alt tag in order to display that information. Go back up to the tags. and choose an AutoTag. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and double click this AutoTag to open up the tag editor. And as we're going to be adding an equation, up here, I'm going to click on this equation button, which opens the insert function windows. Here you have some different categories that you can choose from: math and time, math and trig, statistical, database, text, logical. Let's go ahead and choose math and trig. And since we're looking to give the sum of the sales amount, I'm going to go ahead and choose this sum function. And when you choose a function, you'll have a description down here. And this sum function adds all the numbers in a range of values. All right, we want the sum, so I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And up here, here's our equation. Again, remember, to evaluate, always want to begin with an equal sign, which it has done for us, as you can see right here. So here's the sum function with nothing between these parentheses. So let's add to this equation. What are we going to sum up? So we can enter in the number 1 field what we want to sum, or we can go ahead and click this wizard button. Click that, which opens up the SQL wizard. Here I'm going to expand the tables, and since we're working with sales information, I'm going to expand the sales table as well. So we want to take all the sales amounts and total them up. So we do that by dragging the sales amount to the column section right there. All right. Now you can see in the data preview pane, we have all our sales amounts, exactly what we want to sum up. So that's all you need to do, is just drag the sales amount to the columns, click OK. So now you'll notice to the right, we have our first value that's being returned, and down beneath it, there's also grand total. It's not formatted, but there is the total here. So now that our sum function has data in it from the SQL through this SQL select statement, getting all the sales amounts from the sales table. It's exactly what we want to see. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And here is our query that we just built through the equation editor in this query tab. Again, preceded by the equal sign because we're evaluating. Now I'll go ahead and save this. So it's going to print out a number value. Let's format this data. So I'm going to go ahead and, with it clicked on the alt tag, go up here and choose format data. So just like in Excel, we have our currency. We want to give this 2 decimal places, negative number, yep. So this is the formatting I want to apply. I'm going to go ahead and click apply, click close. And I'm going to go ahead and bold this so it helps stand out a little better. So I'm just going to click on it, come up here to the tag section, click on the select tag. So we select the whole tag, go over here, and let's go ahead and bold this, this alt tag. So let's see what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and click output. And here we have our total. Great sample for showing you how to conditionally format the text for certain values, and also adding a sum function, one of the many functions within our equation editor that you can utilize. Let's go back to the AutoTag tab, and let's open up another sample. We're running short on time, so I might go through this a little quickly, but I do want to get this last part covered. We started a little late, so I like to get all this information to you so you're not missing out on anything. So now I want to show you how to conditionally formatting using if tags and switch case tags. I'm going to go ahead and open up the if tag tutorial, which is in the first row, 5th one right here. So this gives you step-by-step on how to utilize the if tag. So let's look at this first example here, if, out, if. Now, if this if tag, so the if tag, these if tags are perfect when you want to show or hide specific elements within your template based on some condition within your data. So let's go ahead and select this first if tag, which is going to evaluate what's in the if tag. And if it's true, then we're going to display everything between this beginning and ending if tag. And if it's false, we're going to skip over this alt tag and carry on until it gets to the end if tag and then display everything after it. So let's take a look at this beginning if tag and see what the data we're actually evaluating here. So I'm going to select it, go up to AutoTag, preview. So in this if tag, we're evaluating is 1 less than 2. This is a simple evaluation. 1 is less than 2, so it's going to return true. So this means that we're going to display this alt tag because this if tag is true. If it was false, then it would have skipped this alt tag and gone on to the next thing. Now let's look at the alt tag, see what it's actually going to display. Select it, preview, and it's just going to display text. 1 is less than 2. Okay. Now let's take a look at the output. Split the screen. Okay, so here we're displaying simple text in blue that, yes, 1 is less than 2. All right, now let's go ahead and look at this next example. So we have an if, an out, an else tag, an out tag, and an end if tag. So let's go ahead and look at this out if tag to see what we're going to be evaluating for. So if it's selected, preview. So this if tag is checking, is 3 greater than 4? 3 is not greater than 4, of course, so it evaluates to false. Since this first if tag is false, AutoTag is going to skip this first alt tag and move to the else tag. And then it will provide everything after this else tag to the ending if tag. I'm right now using only a simple alt tag. This could have been anything that you wanted to add. But since this if tag is not evaluating true, it's skipping this alt tag and it's going to display what's in this alt tag. And let's go ahead and take a look at it. And it's just displaying 3 is less than or equal to 4, which is what we see right here. So if tags are great if you have 1 or 2 conditions. If you are working with more than 2, say 3 or so, switch tags are more would be a more preferred way to go, but you can group if-else tags to evaluate more than just 2 equations, and you can do that by if, and then else, and then another if, and then an else, and then a couple of end ifs. But as I said, if you do want to test conditions of more than just 2, switch tags would be more convenient for that. So I'm going to go ahead and close this output. Let's go ahead and look at the switch tags. Open the Getting Started guide. We have a couple of switch tag tutorials. I'm going to go ahead and look at this second one. So here we have another table containing the customer information. Let's go ahead and preview this customer ForEach tag. So here we're returning a lot of information: customer ID, first name, last name, suffix, and scrolls on over. And from this ForEach tag, we're going to be displaying a couple alt tags of information: first name, last name, address, city, state, postal code. This country column right here is where we have added our switch tags. And all the switch tag does is just tells AutoTag when to start evaluating the case tags. And the switch tag ends with an end for each switch tag. So anything, all these cases in between the beginning and ending switch tags will be evaluated. And if you can see here, these colors are just a little different. This switch tag is a little darker than the case tags. So these case tags right here is evaluating the country. It's asking, is the country Canada? If it is, display the Canadian flag. I'm going to go ahead and double click on this Canada case tag just to show you what we're looking at. So again, here we have our equal sign, var1, which just refers to this customer ForEach loop. And then it checks if the country region name is equal to Canada. If it is equal to Canada, then display the Canadian flag or this image here. If it isn't, go on to the next case tag. Check to see if the country is US. If it is, display this image. If not, next case tag is checking if the country is Mexico. It'll display this tag. If not, Australia, and it'll display this tag. And when it comes, switch tags, when it comes up to a value that does match, it will break out of this and display only that value that meets the condition. So let's go ahead and generate the output to see what's going on. Let's go ahead and split the screen. All right, and over here you can see country. We have a lot of Australian flags, but as we scroll down the report, you'll start to notice that the case tags do change the flags based upon where the individual's country is located. So here we got American flags, some Australian, some Canadian, and so forth down the list. All right, so that's the case tag. And there's just one more thing that I'd like to go over quickly, and then we can open it up to any Q&A that you may have. Last thing I'd like to cover is the import tag. So up here in the auto tag, I'm going to go back to the samples. And within the Getting Started guide, we have actually 3 import tags that you can review. We have import tag HTML, and import tag image. I'm going to go ahead and choose this first import tag sample as it gives us a little of everything. So in this one, it looks like we're importing an image here, importing an image. We're then also going to import a PDF file. We can import a docx. We can also import text or HTML files. So I'm going to go ahead and create the output just to let you see what this looks like. Okay. Oops. Got a little ahead of myself. Split the screen. All right. Let's take a close look at this. So what you see in the template right here is just the image preview. we're actually using a tag. So if I was to go and double click this, you can see that we are getting this image from this path right here. So this is actually a tag, but we give you a preview to show you what the image looks like. After this is the importing a PDF file section. Here in the output, you may notice that there isn't anything being displayed at this moment. And that's because if you want to output to PDF, if you want to import to a PDF file, in order to display that information, you would have to output to PDF. Since I outputted to Word, it's not displaying this PDF. To get that to display, you would actually have to output to PDF if you're importing to PDF. Okay, let's just go back to the slides quickly. All right, so we discussed if tags and how we evaluate when it's true. Then it shows everything between the beginning and ending if tags when it does evaluate to true. We discussed switch tags. So if you have multiple evaluations or conditions that you're trying to check against, for instance, 3 or more, you'll want to use the switch case tags. And the last slide here is our support resources. You may want to take a screenshot of this while we're on this slide. Here are the resources that you can utilize if you want to look up anything. If you want to look up anything from our knowledge base, you can do this at wiki.windward.net. We're constantly updating the wiki, and we're actually revamping it completely. You'll probably be seeing a new wiki out in a few months. But if you have any questions that you want to try to research on, you can go to our wiki.windward.net, and it's a really good knowledge base. But if you can't find what you're looking for, you can reach out to our amazing support team at support.windward.net. You could also email the support team at support@windward.net. So if you have a question and you can't find an answer to, go ahead and just contact our support team. If you want to see any changes or features added to the engine AutoTag, you can do this through the ideas.windward.net site. There's going to be a survey here at the end of the webinar. Please feel free to fill it out truthfully. Any feedback that you can provide me with will help me better present these webinars and help whoever is attending them get the most information out of it. So now let's go ahead and look at your questions. See if I can get some of those answered for you. I understand that it's a little late, and if you have to take off, I understand that. We do have a question. So let me go ahead and review that, and let's see if we can get an answer for you. Okay, so are there ways to control what's displayed in a ForEach tag? Meaning the number of records that will display. Yes, that's very possible. I'm just going to open up a blank Word document for a moment. Let's see, I'll use this one because it's already connected. I'm going to go down here and just show you a couple of things quickly. So if we added a ForEach, can add an out tag, and then let's go ahead and add a end ForEach tag. So when you open up the ForEach tag in the tag editor, in this properties section, up here in the advanced, this is one way you can control how the ForEach tag can be processed. We give you options to choose the row to start with. It defaults to 0. You can enter a section break at the start of each iteration, or how many iterations, page, even or odd. can tell you when to process the last row, to restart numbered lists for each loop, and how to step through, how many rows to advance on each loop. So within the tag editor, we give you some ways to control how the loop is being processed. Another thing you could do is you could come here and you could add a ForEach tag as well. Let's see, select this, delete it. So you could add a ForEach tag here to indicate while true, do something. This is if tag I could put in here. If country equals Canada, display information. If it doesn't, then stop. Then don't display the information. We could break out of this. We could end the loop. We could do all different things. So either using the properties in the advanced tab could help control how the ForEach tag is being looped, or you could set up some if tags to help control when to break out or what to display within a certain ForEach loop. Good question. Very good question. All right, that was the only question that we had asked today. So I want to thank you all for joining. Hope you got some good information out of this. Hope you enjoy the rest of your, hope you have a great rest of your day. And goodbye now.